Okay, what if I told you the real secret to a high-paying, super stable remote career isn't following your passion, but embracing boredom? I know, it sounds totally backwards, right? But today we're going to dig into this fascinating idea that the most overlooked, kind of boring jobs might just be the smartest career move you could ever make. Let's get into it.
This quote right here. This is the whole idea in a nutshell. While it seems like everyone is chasing those trendy, cool jobs, like being a social media guru or a game designer, they're all jumping into a massively overcrowded pool. The real opportunity, the hidden gold mine, is in the essential jobs that just fly right under the radar.
And this lays out the trade-off perfectly. On one side, you've got the cool job trap. We're talking insane competition for every single opening, which, guess what, often leads to lower pay and way less stability. But then on the other side, you have these so-called boring jobs. There's way less competition, they're incredibly stable because they're absolutely essential, and companies are always hiring for them.
So, let's just go ahead and call this what it is. The boring is better secret. We're about to unpack a huge strategic advantage in the job market that most people completely miss simply because they're distracted by all the shiny, cool-sounding stuff.
So what do we really mean by a boring job? Well, for our purposes, we're defining it by three key advantages. First, high earning power, which is what we all want. Second, incredible stability and constant demand. And third, and this one is a massive deal for 2026 and beyond, a high degree of AI survivability. These are the jobs that need human nuance, judgment, and some real complex problem solving.
To make this all feel a bit more real, we're going to rate each job we look at using a simple three-part framework. Think of it like a game of top trumps for careers. We'll score each role out of 10 on how easy it is to get started, its long-term growth and salary potential, and its freedom factor, which really just means how remote-friendly and flexible it actually is. All right, time to put the framework to the test. Let's dive into our list and see how 7 of these high-paying, boring remote jobs really stack up. Okay, first up is a role that's really the unsung hero of the entire tech world, the technical writer. These are the people who create all the clear instructions, the documentation, and the guides for complex products. Basically, they're the ones who make technology usable for the rest of us.
So looking at the scores, this role gets a huge 8 out of 10 for being beginner-friendly. I mean, if you can write clearly, you've already got a solid foundation. It also gets a massive 9 for freedom, because this job is pretty much perfectly suited for remote work. The growth potential is solid. A 6 out of 10, maybe not explosive, but it makes for a fantastic entry point into a really stable tech career.
Next up, we've got a role that's tied to an absolutely massive tech platform. You've probably heard of Salesforce, but you might not know about the super lucrative career of being a Salesforce administrator. Okay, so this one is a bit tougher to get into, scoring a 6 for beginners. But here's the trade-off. Its growth potential is incredible, a 9 out of 10. Companies pour tons of money into their Salesforce systems, and they are desperate for people who can manage them. That desperation shows up in the salaries and the career ladder. Plus, it's very remote-friendly.
All right, our third role sounds about as boring as it gets, but do not be fooled. Let's talk about the IT auditor. An IT auditor is basically the person who checks a company's tech systems for security, efficiency, and compliance. It's an absolutely critical job that protects a business from all kinds of risk.
You can see the entry barrier is a little higher on this one. That's why it's a 5 out of 10. But the growth potential is a very, very strong 8. Think about it. Every major company on the planet needs IT auditors, which means high demand and excellent job security.
Next up, a role that, barely even existed a decade ago, but is now absolutely essential, the data compliance officer.
With all these new laws like GDPR, data privacy has become a total minefield, and these are the experts that guide companies through it all. And just like the Salesforce admin, it's got a huge 9 for growth potential. As data rules get more and more complex, believe me, the demand and the pay for these specialists will only go up. Okay, let's move on to the absolute backbone of every online store, the role that literally makes modern shopping possible, the e-commerce supply chain manager. This job is all about optimizing the entire journey of a product, from the warehouse shelf all the way to the customer's front door. It scores a really solid 7 for being relatively easy to get into and a strong 8 for growth. If you're the kind of person who loves solving logistical puzzles, this is a surprisingly lucrative field because every single efficiency you create directly saves the company money. Now, our 6th job is probably the toughest one on this list to break into, but let me tell you, the rewards are immense. We're talking about being an actuary. So, actuaries use math and statistics to figure out financial risk for big insurance and finance companies.
That 3 out of 10 for beginners is no joke. It's because of the notoriously difficult professional exams. But for those who can get through them, the rewards are off the charts, a perfect 10 for growth potential and a 9 for freedom. This is one of the highest paying and most respected boring jobs on the entire planet.
And for our final role, let's look at something that kind of blends creativity with a corporate structure, the corporate instructional designer.
These are the folks who create the training materials and courses for employees inside large companies. It's actually a great field for former teachers or really anyone who enjoys organizing information and helping people learn. And you can see high scores across the board, it's easy to get into, has solid growth, and is very remote friendly. So, after running through those 7 pretty different career paths, how do you actually apply this? Look, the goal isn't necessarily for you to go out and become an actuary tomorrow, but it is about changing the way you look at the entire job market.
Here are the crucial takeaways. First, you have to recognize that the hype around cool jobs often just hides low pay and a ton of instability. Second, start reframing boring to mean what it really is: stable, in demand, and lucrative. Third, analyze opportunities with objective data, like our little framework, not just a gut feeling or passion. And finally, prioritize roles that require those complex human skills because they are your best defense against automation.
And that brings us to the final question I really want to leave you with. As you're thinking about your next step, or the next skill you want to learn, or your next job application, just ask yourself this: what truly valuable, stable, and high-paying boring opportunity have you been completely ignoring? The answer just might change your entire career.